Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay, a podcast discussing meditation, the near-death experience, spiritually inspirational and transformative experiences. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, author, and teacher, Jay Spillers. My guest today is David Doolittle. How are you, David?
I'm good, thanks. Living here in Cape Cod and enjoying life.
So you had a near-death experience in 1984. Why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, I just finished at the radio station in the evening. It was 6 o'clock, and it was the standard or classic dark and stormy night in middle of November. So it was sleeting and raining and snowing and all the usual stuff that happens in November. And because we only at that time, lived a mile and a half from our home, from work, I had a moped. So I was putting down the street on a moped in the dark, in the sleet and the snow and the rain. And at a corner at an intersection right by a gas station, some lady in a Volkswagen Beetle turned right in front of me. Now, Beetles have a very short turning radius, and it all happened so fast I couldn't stop. And I ran right into her. The impact broke my helmet. And the next thing I knew, I was lying in the street, flat on my back, looking down on my body from a height of maybe, 10 or 20 feet up. And I could see a circle of people gathered around my body in the street. And that part didn't last too long. That was all what I guess you could call video, not audio. That part didn't last too long. The next thing I knew, I looked up and saw a tunnel of light, a point of light in the distance. And I felt myself being drawn up into that tunnel towards that light. This is something other people with similar experiences have talked about. So I was heading up towards that light, the light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. And the next thing I knew, I was surrounded by light and warmth and peace and love like you can't describe. It was heaven, quite literally heaven. I'm kind of looking around, and I didn't see anybody else or anything for a minute or so. Some people who have these experiences say they see their parents or something like that. That didn't happen with me. So I'm just looking around for a minute. The next thing I know, Jesus shows up as a ball of light. Now, he was so bright that I could not see any facial features or anything, but I had no doubt in my mind who it was. And the communication between us was instantaneous, thought to thought. So he didn't say much. He started showing me my life review, which was kind of an unusual thing because this is 1984, and this flat panel screen showed up off to the side, and it was like a football highlights video of my entire life. I didn't miss anything. It went by at high speed, but again, I didn't miss anything, and it went all the way through, start to finish, up to that point in my life, and then it stopped. And I'm thinking to myself, now what? Then Jesus says to me, well, how do you think you did? And I'm thinking, oh no, I have to judge myself. This is not how I thought it was going to be. How do you think you did? So I sat there and kind of stammered for a moment and said, well, I guess I coulda, shoulda done better. What can you say in that situation? And he said, don't worry, you are forgiven. I said, really? He said, yep, you're forgiven. That's how it works. You're forgiven. I said, great, thank you. What a wonderful feeling. A feeling of love like you've never experienced. The kind you just can't experience anyplace else. When people say it's heavenly, it's heavenly. So I'm looking around, and I don't really see anything. It's not like I said, some people see other people or animals or whatever. It was just me and him. in this very bright, very warm and loving place. And then I said to him, well, I guess I have to trust you that you'll take care of my daughter. My baby daughter was just a year old at that point, and my wife. And he said, yeah, but it's not your time yet. I said, oh, yeah, but it's so nice here. Here I am arguing with Jesus, not a good plan, but I tried. I said, it's so beautiful here. He said, yeah, it is, but it's not your time yet. You've got more to do. Oh, I said, like what? He said, you got to go back. It's not your time yet. So at that point, I ran out of time to argue, and I went back in the tunnel and woke up in the street, flat on my back, with the snow and the sleet on my face. And that circle of people was still there, and they started cheering, saying, he's alive, he's alive, he's alive. Because I wasn't alive for a while. Now, how long I was dead, I don't know. Because one thing I brought back with me was the knowledge that there is no time in heaven. It's only an earthly construct. And also, I think what I learned there was that what's most important in life is actually not here so much as there. That we kind of, in some ways, spend our lives looking through what you might say is the wrong end of the telescope, as it were, in terms of priorities. Anyway, so shortly after I returned, an ambulance showed up and hauled me off to the hospital. And fortunately, a friend of ours happened to be there, and he, in the circle of people around me, and went and got my wife and drove her to the hospital. And the one thing I remember from being in the emergency room was I kept looking at my watch and saying, takes a licking, keeps on ticking. Do you remember the old Timex commercial? My wife was there. My wife was there and said I must have said it 25 times. And after a while, because I was in shock, after a while, the doctor said, I got one more piece of adhesive tape. You know where I can put it? Right there. So, I mean, that's pretty much the story. It was a wonderful thing. Did it change my life? Yes, it changed my life in the fact that, in the way that I now know what awaits us all when we go there. I'm not afraid to die, except that I've got too much junk in this house that needs to get cleaned up. So, I tell people this story with the goal of letting them know not to be afraid, that there really is a heaven up there, and everything you read about in the Bible and hear about, it's there, it's true. So that's pretty much it.
Well, did you have any religious or spiritual beliefs before the experience?
Yes, I neglected to mention, I was raised as an Episcopalian. I became a Catholic in 1979, which is basically the Episcopal Church add a pope and you're all set. So, but we were regular, and we still are regular churchgoers every Sunday. But it's interesting. I feel that when you haven't had this kind of experience, you have, even if you're a regular churchgoer, you have what people call faith. But now I can say I have more than faith. I have knowledge, because I've been there. And it's a beautiful thing.
Well,
I've told this to a lot of people. That's it, basically.
Yeah, because it's sort of like Carl Jung talked about when he was asked, because he actually had a near-death experience, and they said, well, do you believe in God? And he said, well, I don't believe in God. I know God, So it's like, because it's like when you're there and you see it, it's kind of like asking, like, well, do you believe in your mother or your father? It's like, well, I don't, need to believe in them. They were there. I saw them,
I've said to people, do you believe that there's a Grand Canyon? Well, yeah, but I've never been there. Well, this is obviously more than that, but still. Yeah. I have another interesting story, which is not a near-death experience, but I don't know if people are interested in this, but I just know it happened to me, and there is no earthly explanation for this. We were building a house in 1985. This is just a year later after my experience. And because we had sold our house, our current house, and we were living with relatives for the summer, we had to put our dog in the kennel. And I remember she really did not want to get into the kennel at all. She wouldn't even want to get out of the car, but she kind of had some premonition of what might be coming. So anyway, I was heading out to look at the progress of the construction of our house. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, beautiful summer day, just like this. Not a care in the world, not thinking about anything. And I got off the highway, and as I got off the exit, I burst into tears. It took me 5 minutes to compose myself. I had no idea why. It was so weird. I just was overcome with emotions and tears. So I composed myself and went up and saw the house and so on. And then an hour or so later, I got into town, and my wife was working for a doctor at the time. And she got a phone call from the kennel saying, "We are sorry to inform you, but your dog is dead." And I said, "Give me the phone. Tell me what time that happened." 11:30 in the morning, exactly the same time that I got off the highway, exactly that same time. What had happened was they had left her collar on her, and her dog tags were still there, her license, and she was jumping up and down, and the dog license on her collar got stuck in the chain link fence, and she was hung by her own dog tags, by her own license, by her own collar. Terrible thing. But again, how did that happen? That I would have that experience. This is, before cell phones, obviously, 1985. Yeah. So I just say there's more out there than we realize. You ever heard of such an
Well, that
experience?
was sort of like an after death.
Yeah. In an odd way.
Yeah. Well, I've had like lucid dreams of, like where my dad came to me because he passed away and visited me, like a visitation dream that was a very lucid dream, which is kind of like an after death communication too. But so that also probably pointed to you that not only do humans have an afterlife, but animals do too, and that they go on to live as well. We'll see her again.
I hope so. Yeah, it was a very sad moment, that's for sure. And yeah. I'll tell you one other odd experience I had. Very brief. I was driving down the highway to visit my grandparents. This is when I was in college in the early 70s. And it was another beautiful day. I was all by myself in my 1963 push-button Dodge. And just driving down the highway, and I had this voice appear in my head in a very loud way saying, "Slow down." It was a very commanding, strong voice. "Slow down now." I was like, wow, what's going on? Well, a mile down the road, there were state troopers doing a speed trap. And in the glove compartment of my car was a small quantity of illegal drugs, marijuana. Now, this is 1971 or so. And if I'd been pulled over and that had been found, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I'd probably still be in jail. How can you explain that one?
Yeah.
So God operates in our lives in strange ways sometimes.
You're listening to the Inspire Me with Jay podcast. Please do like and subscribe to the channel, bringing hope and inspiration to the world.
So, like when you had your near-death experience and you were forgiven, was it sort of surprising that you weren't judged and that you were just, forgiven like that really easily?
Well,
Did it surprise you from your religious background?
well, yes and no. I mean, you read about the forgiveness of God and forgiveness of Jesus and so forth. But again, it's one thing to read about it and hear about it. And it's another thing to experience that feeling of forgiveness just wash through you and wash you're clean, as they say. And wow. The other thing that I want people to take away from this experience is that every moment of your life is being recorded. Yeah, every moment. And you're going to have to watch it later. Part of the playback includes the feelings of other people that you may have hurt or helped by the actions in your life. And that's a big part of that experience. So just realize that when your moment comes, you're going to have to watch it and experience it all over again, sometimes through the eyes of other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a profound thing to realize. If people only knew, what awaits them in that regard, they might be kinder and go out of their way to be more helpful to other people.
Yeah. Well, and like the life review, experiencing what others experienced, in a sense, it can feel kind of like a retribution or a hell, but it's really only secondary because the primary reason is for spiritual growth of the
Mm-hmm.
soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I saw a video the other
Do you
day.
feel like you were?
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, do you feel like you became kinder and more conscious of how you acted after your experience?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And, I'm trying to do little things to help people. Like, the landscapers are coming today to cut the yard. I went out and bought some cans of iced tea to give them because it's hot out here in the summer. And just little things like that make people feel appreciated.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what did you see on the video?
So the video has staged scenes where it's called 20 Minutes Before. That's the title of that video. 20 Minutes Before.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows situations. Say a little boy is acting up in a store and crying and stuff. And the mother is very apologetic to the other people around. And some of them are critical of how she's parenting this child. And then it switches to the 20 minutes before, where you are shown that she just adopted this child, not adopted, but she's a caregiver for this child, and it's his third home, and kid's been through a lot, so other people don't realize what other people are going through. It's just one example in this video. Another one I remember in it. Some guy is driving down the road and he's not really paying attention as he's driving. And another guy behind him is very critical of the guy's driving. Guy's distracted somehow. So the guy behind him pulls up beside him and goes, "Don't you learn how to drive, buddy, learn how to drive." He's just, being very critical of him, and then roars away. Then the scene switches to 20 minutes earlier, where the guy's in the hospital holding the hand of his dead wife, who had just passed away. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so obviously he's, you know, hurting emotionally at that moment. But again, the point there is you never know what other people are experiencing, what they're going through, and to, you know, be nicer to people.
I don't know if this was on the video you saw, but I've heard a story several years ago of um, a man who was on a train with his kids. It was either a train or a bus, and they're kind of loud, making noise, and then someone next to him complains and says something, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Their mother had just passed away
Mm,
today or something."
mm-mm.
So it
Yeah,
changed the dynamic of it.
yeah. Cut people some slack. Life's too short.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's true. So you must have, in your work with people in these stories, have heard some interesting ones. Is there one in particular that stands out in your mind that people have told you, where they've seen their relatives or their dog or something?
Well, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories. Like I know one. Have you read that book? His last name is Burpo. You know, trying to remember what the kid's name was. I think his dad's name is Todd, but the kid was 3 years old and he died, and he met his sister on the other side, but he didn't know anything about her, and she died in utero. You know, basically, she was never even born, and
Wow.
he interacted with her. And then when he went back, you know, he told his parents about it, and they confirmed that it was true, but they had never told him. He was only 3 years old. That
Wow.
you know, his mother had a miscarriage, so
Mm,
you know that was like one of the confirmations of the NDE. There's a lot of other confirmations. You know, like
mm,
there'll be one like a woman was she had a near death experience, and she was traveling through the hospital, and she saw one of her relatives who was at a vending machine getting a candy bar, and you know was able to describe it, and it wasn't something that he normally did because he was kind of a health a health person, but he was
right.
getting that. And you know I've heard stories like that, so
Mm,
you know all kinds of stories about different things.
mm. Yeah, there was a movie that came out a few years ago, Heaven is Real, I think it was called. Do you remember that one? There
Yeah.
was a little
Uh-huh.
boy that went to heaven. He tried to get the angels to
Yeah, that's
sing.
the one.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Mhm.
Tried to get the angels to sing one of
Yeah,
his
where he
favorite
saw his
songs.
sister.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The angels said, "No, we don't do that here." They have their own playlist.
Hmm.
So,
So, like the forgiveness you received, do you feel that that's applicable to everyone? You know, because you know, I've described like, well, okay, the Bible says you need to be born again, but some people are born again right there in the light. You know, so that kind of answers the question. Well, what if nobody's ever heard about Christ? What if someone's in this darkest Africa? Well,
mm,
everybody's going to stand before the light, and you embrace the light embraces you back. You're born of the Spirit in that moment, you know. So it's like
right.
I don't really think that's a problem. I don't know what your view is on that.
Um, well, I think it's universal. There's no question that it's not, where you live or who you are or what church you've attended. We're all creations of the same creator. And it's,
Hmm.
that forgiveness, I don't think is uh, held back. But I can't really say because I just know what I experienced.
Hmm. So, like after your NDE, have you been active? Like, you know, like did you get involved in any kind of organization ministry to kind of like make the world a better place in some way? Did it motivate you to do something that way?
Well, not particularly. I'm trying to do little things every day. Kind of the bloom where you're planted approach to life, but I'm not really a joiner, as it were, to answer that question. No, but and I think when I was told you have more to do, it's partly sharing the story to let people know, which is why I'm here today.
Yeah. Have you shared on other podcasts or anything?
No, this is the first podcast I've done.
Well, how's your story been received? Like, when you tell people, are they mostly positive?
Yeah, I mean, people are very impressed. It's funny, I told this story to a guy at a car dealership, I don't know, 10 years ago or more. And just a couple weeks ago, he called me out of the blue and said, I want you to know what a difference you've made in my life. Telling me that story. So that was as I say, out of the blue, a surprise. And you don't know what effect you're having on other people necessarily, but that was nice to hear back from that guy. So
did you lose all fear of death after the experience?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, no one wants to go through any pain, obviously, but in terms of actually dying, yeah, I mean, I know what awaits me, so I'm not fearful of it. Other people have said similar things from what I've read. I'm sorry?
Do you follow a lot of other NDEs? Are you interested in that topic, or have you ever heard of IANS, which is the International Association of Near-Death Studies?
I don't think I've heard of that, but I have seen some other near-death studies, or stories, I should say, on Facebook in groups like yours and other places on Facebook, and it's always of interest to me. But I haven't really, pursued it that much.
So, what is one final word you'd like to leave with the audience?
Don't be afraid. But also, as I said, try to live your life as best you possibly can, knowing that it is being recorded and you'll have to see whatever you've been doing down the road, and keeping that in mind on a daily basis can really affect your decisions and the choices you make, and hopefully in a positive way. Do unto others as they would do unto you. So, yeah.
And I guess if people want to reach out to you, they could probably just find you on your Facebook page or anywhere else.
Sure. I'm happy to help. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for being on today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me. Not as dramatic or big a story as some other people have told where they've met their parents or other things like that, but the basics are there, and I'm glad that I was able to share them.
Yeah, it was pretty big. You met Jesus. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. As I said, no facial details or anything. It was just like a ball of light and love.
Have you ever wondered whether the Bible was compatible with a near-death experience? In my book, Heaven's Truth, the parallels between the Bible and the near-death experience, your faith will be strengthened while you support this channel. In Heaven's Truth, you will learn about near-death experiences and other similar experiences in the Bible. Support for the Bible contained in NDEs. A central theme that runs through both the Bible and NDEs. How the NDE brings the Bible to life for these modern times. Evidence for both the Bible and the NDE, and much more. Great book. Spillers does an excellent job weaving the relationship between NDEs and the scriptures. 5 stars on Amazon, available on Amazon.